Hi everyone, I'm Jacqueline Blaine. I'm your instructor for English 1121, second summer session 2022, which is a lot to say and I couldn't say it right. So anyway, welcome to the class. I wanted to leave a couple of videos here on this announcements page, which is also the home page. The first one, I'm going to kind of walk you through the site and talk about the course, and then the second one, which will be below this, we'll go more into the tech and the first introductory assignments and that kind of stuff. Okay. So this is our site, obviously, and I picked the beach because who wouldn't rather be at the beach than going to class, but such is life. 1121 is the second half of this first year writing sequence, if you will. Those of you who've had 1101, which is everybody, if you had the class where you had a final portfolio, education narrative, reflective annotated bibliography, and then a new genre assignment, you've had what we're kind of calling the new curriculum. Which is more sort of contemporary and stuff. We don't read great books, we don't do Shakespeare, that kind of stuff. This is all about writing. And the idea is that the first class, 1101, is to kind of get you more in tune with yourself as a writer and your process, and so get some basic skills like research and that kind of stuff, annotations, and kind of get going writing. And the second half, the 1121, is to sort of you in the world, okay, the groups that you belong to, the communications that go on in there, different kind of things like comics and texts and that kind of stuff, multimodal stuff. So we can almost think of 1101 as you as a writer, and then 1121 as you as a writer in the world. Okay, so that's where we are here. This is sort of our outward facing one, and that's what we're doing in 1121. So this is our website. I picked the beach because, like I said, who wouldn't rather be at the beach than in class? But here we are. This announcements page is your landing page. You'll always come in here when you come to the class. And there's a lot of stuff going to be on here. Obviously, the video's not there because that's what I'm doing right now. But OpenLab, if you haven't used OpenLab before, some of you probably have, some of you haven't. It's a little bit of a learning curve on how to post stuff, but I have all kinds of tools and tutorials and stuff to help you through that. So this is just the announcements page. This is the course info. It's got the syllabus and the readings you don't have to worry about because they're all on Perusall, which is sort of an annotation site program. My students really like it because since we're asynchronous, we don't get to sit in class and talk about stuff. So the only way we can do that is sort of online, and Perusall is a nice way to do that because you get to add images and link out to stuff, and it's a lot more fun. So that's what under course info. The schedule I'll come back to. This is for the whole summer term, and I have it broken down. I might as well show you now if I can get my computer to work. Computer work. There we go. It's broken down by weeks, and it'll show you what I'm doing. It's sort of the basic general stuff, and then all the due dates. Everything is due end of day. On the dates, and since it's summer, the assignments and due dates come really fast. Okay, that's one thing about summer. It is a quick class. Things happen in a hot hurry because we're trying to do essentially 15 weeks worth of work in 4.5 weeks. So you kind of got to stay up, right? So get yourself whatever tracking tool or organizational tool you use, and and let it help you through this. And you can always get in touch with me, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, so this is again, is broken down by weeks. It's got everything on here. It doesn't have some of the specifics of the assignments, but it does have what they are. Right? So that's the schedule. Units, I'll come back to these in just a second. Blog is just, these are OpenLab posts, and I'll show you how to do it. And you never have to worry about saying, oh, I'm writing for the blog. You create an OpenLab post, and you give it the right category, and it goes to the right spot. Again, I'll show you that in the next video. Our Google Drive is where you will be uploading all of your assignments, and I'll come back to that in just a minute too. This is an important page, the tutorials, help, and resources. And we start with the college resources here. This will just link you out to a bunch of stuff like financial aid, the Writing Center. So we do have the Writing Center, and it is open in the second half of the summer. It's for any class. It's not just for this one. We get a lot of people from art history and nursing and the sciences and stuff in there too. I'm one of the consultant tutors in there, so I don't know what days I'm going to be there, but I'm available to you guys anytime anyway. But this is the links to the library and a bunch of stuff. including OpenLab help. If you're having trouble with OpenLab, this is essentially the same link that was on Blackboard. Just, you know, how if you're troubleshooting, if you need some help, you can always check the new guide, which is OpenLab for Students. It's been up for about 6 months. A lot of really good stuff to show you how to set up your classes and things like that. So that's on this one. And if we go back here, the other thing that's really useful, and this is the most important one of these three, is the class resources. This has got, I have a little menu, but it's got how to create a post on OpenLab, which I'll get back to. There's a video and handout and stuff like that, plus other things that we'll be using through the term. How to use Perusall, a little bit more about Slack, and then a bunch of other stuff. So this one's kind of important, right? So that's sort of your basic thing. Let me go to the drive here. Hello, computer. I'm having all kinds of trouble with my computer. Let's see. So in our drive, you'll see that there's a folder set up for each one of the main things, each one of the units that I'll go through in just a second. So you'll be uploading stuff in here. If you've never used Google Drive, and I suspect that's very few, but if you haven't, you go say, this is Portrait of a Word is Unit 1. I don't have it labeled right, but you go in here and then you find your file somewhere on your computer and you just click on, like this is the syllabus, and it'll just pop up here. All right. You can also create your own folder, which you'll be doing later on, Jackie's folder. And then you can drop other stuff in here like links, and there's all kinds of things you can do with this. So that's the drive, and if you don't know how to use it, just get over here and play with it. It's really not that hard, or you can ask me and I'll give you some help with it. So that's the drive where we're going to upload all that stuff. Okay, so here, let me go into the units. These are the main things we're going to be doing. So Unit 1, this introductory unit I'll come back to in the next video, but there's some things to watch, learning how to play with the tools, getting to know each other, introducing ourselves to each other. Unit 1 is it's called the Portrait of a Word. You are part of a whole bunch of different groups. We call them discourse communities. Sneakerheads, they could be community things, it could be hobby things, it could be professional and work things. But each one of those things is a discourse community, and it's got its own sort of, if you've ever been around the medical profession, you know it's got its own language, its own jargon, right? And there's sort of ways of learning to be part of that community. So you're going to be writing about a word or the jargon of the language that one of your discourse communities uses. I've had a whole bunch of stuff, and I'll show you some examples when we get there. This one's kind of fun. And the second one, the feature article, is probably not anything you've written before. This is not a research report. It's like a feature article that you would read online somewhere, or in a magazine. It's about something that you're interested in. It could grow out of your interest from your discourse community or another discourse community of yours, or just something you're interested in. There's a little bit of research involved, but it is not a research report. Okay, it's something for an audience, people who have to be sort of drawn in to read something, and so it's set up in a little bit different way in a very different way, in fact, than a research report. It's not your typical 5-paragraph thesis statement, 3 paragraphs of evidence, and a conclusion paragraph. It's nothing like that. So we'll see some examples, and you kind of get to be real creative with this if you want to. And then the third part of this is the multimodal project. It's a little bit like the new genre project that some of you did in 1101. You're going to be taking something that kind of grows out of either the first or the second unit, and then creating something for a real specific audience. We're going to limit you to some audiences like 4th graders or City Tech freshmen, and then you're going to be figuring out what's the best way to get information to that group. I had students do Instagram stories, Twitter threads, comics, podcasts, can you name it? Everybody always throws something at me. I had TikTok. People are always throwing something new at me. every term. So this is, again, a chance to get really creative on here. And then you're going to be writing about the process of doing it. All right, so that's the multimodal project. And then the final portfolio, if you did 1101, it's the same assignment. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it is a revision of these two things, Unit 1 and Unit 2, plus a long reflection piece, which is about 1,200 words long, that sort of takes you through the whole term, sort of where you started, how you feel now, things that worked, things that didn't work, things you liked, things you didn't like. Right? It's like the whole thing all put together. So that's the things that we're going to be working on. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I think that's about it for what we're doing in general. You'll also see when we get to these, like unit portrait of a word, there will be the assignment itself, which I will talk more about this one, when it's due, and then the schedule for getting things done, including things, handouts and links to stuff that you're going to want to use. All right, so that's the course. That's where we're going. Here's the announcement page, and with that, I'm going to. This is long. I don't like videos that are longer than about 15 or 20 minutes long, so I'm going to stop this one now. And then I'm going to make another one, which again will be below here, where I talk specifically about the tech, about Perusall and Slack and Padlets and stuff like that. And then go through the introductory assignment. Okay? So the easiest way to get hold of me is on Slack, which you should have. The link is right here. The invitation link is here. My students love Slack because I tend to check it obsessively from like 7 in the morning until 9 at night. Of course, people send me messages at 4 a.m. and I'm not up then, and I'm certainly not up at midnight. So, but I always respond to them pretty quickly. It's a lot faster than trying to send an email, because the email system at CityTech can be a little wonky sometimes, and things get lost. And so it's always better to text me using Slack. The thing about Slack is, if you've ever used a Discord server, it's a whole lot like that. It's just a little more like professional, I guess. A lot of companies use Slack in-house, and so I kind of wanted to give you an opportunity to get to know a little bit about Slack. So if you do end up in a job where they're using Slack, you'll know what's going on, and you won't be a complete and total newbie about it. So that's kind of what we're doing there with that one. So anyway, I will stop this recording, and I'll do the next one, and I'll get you going on the assignments. Welcome to the class.